And now we turn to matters technological at 8:34 in the excellent company of Guy Cocker, Global Editor-in-Chief for that fantastic magazine, Stuff Magazine. That's a work in progress, that theme tune, Guy. Good morning, Guy Cocker from Stuff Magazine. Hi, Guy.
Good morning, Paul. How are you?
Fine, thank you. Now, let's start, if we may, with the latest iPhone 7 rumours. I read in the Sun newspaper, maybe they're right, maybe they're wrong, the Apple's iPhone 7 will have a curved glass case and be the firm's thinnest yet, insiders say. No surprise, I suppose, on the thinness, because nobody wants a great big old brick in their pocket, do they?
Yeah, exactly. So the iPhone SE, which is their sort of cheaper phone, has just been announced in San Francisco. But the iPhone 7 is kind of that main flagship that will be announced, we think, in September. And as the Sun reports, it's set to have a curved glass screen made from liquid metal. So the idea with the iPhone is that every other year, so this year, it's set to make a big redesign. So the iPhone 7, we think, will have this kind of curved design that's made of liquid metal, so a curved front and a curved back. We think that it'll lose the home button, the button at the bottom of the screen, and become just a complete glass screen on the front, and the fingerprint sensor may either be on the front or the back. But also the big change that's coming through, and we're pretty certain that this is going to happen, it's going to lose the headphone port. So it will lose the headphone port. That will allow it to get even thinner than before, but you'll have to either use an adapter for your existing pair of headphones, or you'll have to invest in a pair of Bluetooth headphones. Now, Apple bought Beats a couple of years ago, and this is the big idea, to get you to buy more Beats headphones. So just be prepared to buy new headphones when this iPhone 7 comes around in September.
Is it compulsory then to have the iPhone 7?
No, well, so in terms of having the iPhone 7, it'll be an optional upgrade, like all other.
It's just that I'm only just getting my poor old sad head around the iPhone 5, and the notion of not having a home button, I'd just be nervous, because the screen freezes. There are times when I have to go back to factory settings and all that kind of stuff. Yeah,
exactly. Well, this is the idea with the latest phones, is that they're kind of built-in obsolescence. They're built to exist for about a year, really, at sort of really, really optimal settings, and then after a couple of years, your phone gets slower and slower. So yes, the idea is that after a couple of years, you're supposed to upgrade your iPhone. Now, you can keep it running for a bit longer if you sort of don't upgrade to the latest version of the iOS software that runs the phone. But yeah, that's the problem with iPhones. The company Apple has tried to make a cheaper phone that's available called the iPhone SE, which will be available in a couple of weeks' time. But yes, this idea is that iPhone 7 will be the latest flagship and probably cost, around £600-700, like all its other flagships, yeah.
OK, turning now, if we may, to one thing the iPhone 7 doesn't seem to have, the ability to be folded pretty much in half. That's Samsung's baby, isn't it?
Yeah, so Samsung has just released its latest flagship phone, so the Samsung Galaxy S7. We reviewed it on Stuff. It's an absolutely fantastic phone, probably the best phone you can buy right now. And it's got the S7 and the S7 Edge, which, like we were just talking about with the iPhone 7, has this sort of curved edge of the screen where it kind of goes around the edge on the sides of the screen. And so the general premise with its latest patent shows that Samsung could be working on a foldable phone. So it's a patent filing. It'll basically, it's a fully functional smartphone of a seemingly normal size, but you can bend it in half, so it will be able to tuck into a sort of internal pocket.
So it would actually go down to virtually kind of wallet size, which is what our pockets are designed for, not phones.
Exactly. So you're getting lots of advancements in technology that are allowing these screens to get ever thinner, and essentially Samsung's been a leader actually in having these foldable screens already. So it's got the technology, but it should tuck nicely into a pair of trousers. Obviously, it'll be a bit thicker than usual, but this idea of actually, you used to have those sort of clamshell flip phones. Motorola used to have a very influential phone that would fold in half. This could be making a comeback. So the patent's been filed. No announcement in terms of whether this phone is ever going to make it to market, but it's looking more likely as this patent's been filed.
And from the smallest beautiful sounding Samsung phone to the smaller than average iPad Pro. Now, it's got a limited memory, we're learning this morning.
Yeah, so the iPad Pro was a big release sort of at the end of last year for Apple. So the iPad Pro, the idea was it was going after, so Microsoft Surface had been making a lot of moves into the business market, and iPad wanted some of that money. iPad sales are actually stalling at the moment. So it released this really powerful iPad Pro, and last week Apple announced that there was a smaller version of the iPad Pro coming through. Now users are up in arms because it's called the iPad Pro, and it only has half the RAM and less power than the larger model.
So it's like a semi-pro then, basically. It's the iPad semi-pro.
Basically, so Apple's being a little bit cheeky here and saying that it's an iPad Pro, but it's really, it's not the same Pro as the larger model. So the 9.7-inch model has 2 gigabytes of RAM, whereas the larger model has 4 gigabytes, and it only has a sort of A9X chip, which is a less powerful chip than the larger Pro. So really, it's not a Pro at all. So this is a little bit cheeky from Apple announcing that it is an iPad Pro when it's not got the same specs. So if you're what it means is if you're a power user and you're expecting to buy this small iPad Pro to edit photos or do video editing, which is kind of the point of why you'd want to buy it, it's not going to have as much power. It's not going to chew through those applications in the same way. So yeah, just a little bit cheeky from Apple announcing it as an iPad Pro.
Now, the Americans take the safety of their citizens very seriously indeed. They've got a very, very strict and stringent Food and Drug Authority. They've also got a very strict Federation and Air Federal situation, which means it covers the whole of the country. And they are really concerned, aren't they, the FAA, in America, with drones?
Yeah, this is a big deal for America, but over here as well. We have pretty stringent drone laws, or the industry prefers to call them UAVs, unmanned aerial vehicles. But the FAA, which is the body in the US which regulates this sort of thing, has had 500 drone incidents in the last 6 months alone. So a lot of these are just, the majority of these incidents are pretty minor. So pilots and bystanders will be reporting drones are flying in restricted airspace. If you're using a drone, you're supposed to use it away from traffic, away from people, just in case you injure them. So that's just general good practice. But there's been some reports in the US that one incident in particular outside the JFK airport in New York back in August saw a drone flying at 7,000 feet, only 20 feet away from the plane's right side. So obviously, these drones, if they got into a plane engine, would be catastrophic. So it's just a general trend that we're seeing, that drones are really interesting technology, and that you're going to see drones delivering your parcels if you're ordering online. This is going to be happening soon. But already we're seeing incidents of people flying drones and just not being careful with them. And it's something that there are official laws and mandates around this sort of thing, but it's still down to people's just good. And
we should say that it's the Federal Aviation Authority, and federal law in the States is very fierce indeed. And I think at the moment they've been kind of soft-pedaling a bit with people, hoping people will allow their common sense to come to the fore. If they prosecute you under federal law in the States and you're found guilty, you go away for like 284 years.
Absolutely, yeah, and you've had people flying these drones, commercially available drones. They're getting cheaper. They're still around £1,000 for the really good ones, but they're getting cheaper, and you've had people flying them into the White House. So it's a serious.
Bonkers.
I use a lot of these drones. They're great fun. They're great fun to fly, but you've got to be really careful with them.
Okay, let's turn, if we were now, to technology biting the creator. It's not quite Frankenstein's monster, but it's a bit like Isaac Asimov's iRobot. Microsoft has had to issue an apology over a chatbot who went from being some kind of artificial intelligence into a Holocaust-denying racist. Can this be true?
Yeah, basically Microsoft, it's as well as making Office and Windows and all those programs you probably use at work, they invest in a lot of artificial intelligence. So the idea was to create an artificial intelligence chatbot that would post on Twitter, basically completely unmanned, and it would pose as an 18 to 24-year-old. So obviously, a lot of 18 to 24-year-olds are on social media. And basically, it would try and replicate that behavior of an 18 to 24-year-old. And within 24 hours, because a lot of people online wanted to essentially try and toy with this chatbot and try and corrupt it, had to be taken offline within 24 hours. So Microsoft's head of research had to apologize and said it was deeply sorry for the unintended.
So basically, they kind of brainwashed this chatbot into being the kind of more extreme element of parts of the internet, kind of Holocaust denying and racist.
Yeah, absolutely, and saying, essentially getting it to say that it supported genocide, and yeah, Microsoft had to take it offline very quickly.
The problem for me with this story, if I'm being absolutely honest, guys, we call it an artificial intelligence. If it's that easy to bamboozle, it's not intelligent.
It's not, right, exactly. It's actually funny though, in the West, this is the approach is to kind of corrupt this poor artificial intelligence. In China, they've been doing this for a while, trying to create these chatbots, and actually they're very, very popular. There's one called Xialis the chatbot in China, and it's used by 40 million people, and people really enjoy kind of conversing with it and telling it stories. Over here in the West, we just want to corrupt it and make it racist, which says a lot about how we use social media over here.
Guy, I appreciate your time this morning. Thank you very much indeed. Fascinating stuff there on Talk Radio from Guy Cocker, global editor-in-chief for Stuff. Not just like the European editor or the British editor, the global editor-in-chief for Stuff, that rather fine gadget and technology magazine. This is Talk Radio. Still to